and today we are speaking with Rayna Campbell. And if you've noticed, for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking with business and creative coaches, just trying to see what we can learn. And I thought it's cool to, instead of just having random interviews here and there, to follow a series and a theme. And so last week I was really talking about the theme of love and how that without love for what you're doing, it can be really hard to tap into some of this advice. So I feel like it's a message that all of the coaches can get behind, that everyone, once you see it and once you see the students, you start to realize that there's that passion. It can be, it's like a prerequisite. But I'd like to welcome you to the call, Rayna. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So to start off, I think if you could just give us a 1 to 2 minute interview about what you do and who you work with. I know you do a lot of different things, and I was doing some research and some digging. I thought it was really cool, all the things that you have going on.
So I'm an actress, a filmmaker, a writer, and a coach for artists and creatives. And I facilitate them in mindset work so that they can achieve career success. So that looks like having more visibility and recognition as an artist, creating consistency either with their income or the amount of work that they get, and achieving work-life balance as well.
Okay, I'm just taking this in because recently it's like mindset. It's like it's hitting me over the face with a baseball bat about how this is such an important piece. And if people are listening, they're like, okay, if you don't know about mindset, I say, like my big aha was that I was plateaued and I thought, well, if I could just take my brain out and replace someone's brain in I would get different results. And if
Yeah.
that person's was like a super Mitch or something like that, then he would easily get the results that I might struggle to get. But how do you explain mindset to people and why it's so important?
So literally, I break the word mindset into two. So your mind is set on a certain way of thinking, feeling, viewing the world, how you receive information, and that affects and impacts what shows up in your life. So, for example, when I first started acting, I went to a great school in New York. My teachers were like, "You're going to be amazing." I came to London and nothing happened. I was struggling so badly to get representation, to even be seen. And I felt like the amount of effort I'm putting into this career, which I love, it's the only thing I want to do, I'm not getting even a trickle out. So every year I would not go on holiday because in case something happened or, my big break will come, and it never came. And as I got older and I started thinking, how will this play out in my future? Will I be able to have the lifestyle that I would like? I see people traveling and buying homes, and that right now is not a reality for me because I'm working a job where they do allow me to go on auditions, but then the auditions that are showing up are not even the things that I wanted to do. It would be like children's theatre, or there's nothing wrong with children's theatre, but it was just like I didn't want to do that. So I worked with a lady on my mindset for about 6 months, and I got the lead role in this feature film. We worked in South Africa for 3 months. It went all around the world, so I got to travel around the world with this feature film. I got money to make a feature film. Like, everything sort of like turned around 180 degrees. Now I work full-time consistently as an actress, as a coach, making films. And I just think that's my mindset because it's changed from what it was.
And
So
how long were you stuck in that post New York? So you finished your school, and then how long did you go on? I don't want to say struggling, I don't think, but you weren't getting what you wanted. You definitely doesn't sound like you were moving forward.
15 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Because I had this thought, this is my year, or it's gonna happen. Like every day I thought it's gonna happen, and every day it didn't. I just got, it's got to be possible, but it's not. I didn't want to give up because I thought I don't know what else I would do, but I'm frustrated because I've changed agents a bunch of times. It starts off good and then they don't seem to be able to help me. I would read books like The Secret and I'd be like, yeah, this sounds amazing. I would try it and then I'd get a free ice cream, but then nothing. So it was frustrating. And I went to all kinds of healers, did all kinds of courses, but nothing was budging. And I was like reading about other artists and thinking, I feel like I have the abilities to be able to have that kind of a career. And it literally wasn't until I changed my mindset, changed my energy, up-leveled my energetic power, and could pinpoint, this is why this is holding you back. The first example of this was, I remember I hadn't worked for 6 years and I was on the bus at my mum's place in Manchester, England. And I was like, God, what's going on? Like, why can't I get a job? And he said, you have 3 points of view that are stopping you from working. The first one was, you feel, it was only British African actors and actresses work. West Indian British actors and actresses don't. Sounds so silly, but that was a belief I had. I was like, well, they're always working. The second one was, I'm dark, too dark, so they're not going to put me in the lead role. And I was like, okay, yeah, but it's true. You don't see them in the lead roles. And then he was like, okay, look at this country, look at this actor, look at that actress. And I was like, oh yeah. I can't remember what the third one, but they were like strong beliefs that I had because I'd seen evidence that I thought they were true. So then what I did, I was like, okay, with the African actor thing, let me see what West Indian actresses do I know who are out there? And then I started reading them off and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about her. Oh yeah, him, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, well, she's also the same complexion as me, Viola Davis, and she's working, okay? She's not in the UK, but she's... So I went like that. Literally 2 weeks later, I booked a drama for the BBC that shot in South Africa. So that was like the beginning of it.
And when you said you heard these questions, like that's amazing, especially to not to give up after so many years, because I feel like so many people would give up well before 15 years, isn't it? That's a long time. But these questions, was it like a voice that you just heard on the bus, or did it come to you in a dream, or how did this show up? Because I think this is really fascinating.
I don't want to spook people out here. I have this ability, the women on my mother's side have this ability to communicate like this. So I hear clearly, like you're speaking to me. When I tell my friends, they're like, okay. It's just like when I allow, like when I sit still, I just get the information and the answers. So when I'm coaching people, I do the same. Like they'll say, okay, this is my problem. And I'll be like, okay, this... I like cut them out. So before my coaching calls, I just like prepare myself for like half an hour, like on the group program, so that I can be open to receive the information. But it was just, the thing is, I had those beliefs, but I didn't think they were what was holding me back. I was just like, oh, it is like, if there was a group of actors going, yeah, it's always, you know, like the African actors, I'd be like, yeah, I know, that's true. They're doing so well. And not only having that belief, but having that energy towards that group of people, like it wasn't like I was like, that's negative. I'm saying something negative. It's not positive, instead of like, that's amazing. And that can be possible for anyone. So there was so much stuff. I mean, that was just the beginning layer. There was like so much stuff from childhood, from things that happened, from terrible experience I'd had, from rejections, all kinds of things. Things people had said to me that stuck, that I couldn't get over that were just holding me back.
And like I think this is just absolutely fascinating, especially I feel like the just like how we can be locked into these thought patterns for so long, but the fact that you stuck with it even though things weren't working, or maybe were working a little bit, and then all of a sudden it just like
Yeah.
a switch got flipped. But do you remember going back to that journey of switching your mindset? Like how did you heard this voice, or these questions were asked to you, and then you found answers, or you found evidence that was contrary to your old beliefs. Was that it, or
No, that wasn't it. I mean, so like I got that job, I booked a bunch of others, and then back to normal again, like no work, no work.
okay?
So the reason I didn't give up was because I love acting so much. And there was always this belief in me, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm supposed to be working like constantly. I have friends who work full time. So why not me? Like, I know I'm talented. I know I can do it. So it was that. And then when I would try and do something else, I was so unhappy. I was just like, oh, I'm going to be the most miserable person if I have to go get a. Because my mum was like, oh, but you have a degree in retail and marketing. Why don't you do something with that? And I actually did set up a business that was really successful, selling hair replacement to women who went through chemotherapy. And I enjoyed it and I was good at it because I had the business brain. But I was just like, I'm not fulfilled. This is not what I want to do. Like, there has to be a way. Maybe I'm going to be one of those late bloomers. Like, I just thought there's got to be something. I remember as well, this was about 5 years ago, because another belief, I was like, you have to go to America to make the big money. LA, that's where the money's at when you're an actor. And I remember I was at the train station in Richmond in London, and I saw this lady. She was about in her 50s. She was probably a casting director or something, and she was dressed head to toe like in this beautiful designer gear and this handbag. She was on the phone talking about this project, and I remember looking at her thinking, this is a British lady in the industry, and she's obviously doing well for herself. I mean, that was a judgment just based on how she looked. And then that changed something for me. I was like, you don't have to go to America to start making money. The money's right here. And then that like started to increase my income. So I just know like the power of beliefs is so profound.
Well, I want to ask a selfish question here, because I feel like I feel like because you're helping people and you've had this experience, that I have this belief in hard work. Like it just everything is hard work. And
No.
it's crazy, right? So
Yeah.
if but I feel like it's a belief that a lot of people have. And there's certain things where well, I think in creatives, a lot of like there's people who are afraid to start. And when I was looking on your Facebook page, like you wanted a movie, so you just made a movie.
Yeah.
And this is something that I advocate for people. It's like, well, I want to do comic books. Like, all right, cool, make a comic book. What is stopping you? Nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you have paper? Do you have pencils? Okay. You know, what else do you need? And then that's where the sort of like the monster, this giant cloud comes over. But for this belief of hard work, what do you say to people? Because I feel like it's working against me, and it's something that is ingrained since I was a kid. Like my grandpa worked really hard, and my mom worked really hard, and we're a hardworking family, and I will outwork anybody. And that's how I built up my career, because I was not the best artist, but I would work harder. I would like try to beat everyone into the studio. Not every day, but a lot of the days. I tried to be there, so when the senior artists came in, they'd be like, "Who is this kid?" Okay, I'll spend some time helping him out with whatever he's working on. How do I smash this?
It's so funny because, yeah, I had that belief as well, because my parents came over from the Caribbean when they were teenagers in the Windrush, and it was like hard work. Because you're Black, you have to work 50 times harder than anyone else to prove. So they always said that to me. And what happened is, as I got older, I would just get burnt out all the time. Like, literally all the time. So what I say is, as an artist, it's important to have your craft and your skill set as perfect as you can get it, which means spending time building up your talents. Because like I get people saying to me, oh, I want to be an actor like you. Like they'll reach out to me, see me working, but I don't want to go to drama school. And I'm like, you have to build your skill set. When people, if if you're going to do theatre or film, you have to build your skill set. So it requires hard work in that respect. But if you enjoy something, then it's fun. It doesn't feel like hard work. But in terms of like the balance and I stopped doing that because I decided I'm going to trust time and space. And if I know that I have to do something that requires a lot of my time and a lot of my energy, I make myself bigger to encompass the time and the energy. So if I only write something for an hour and I'm tired, I need to nap, normally I would push through that and I'd be like, get Coca-Cola, get chocolate, work through it, go, 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 go. Now I go, I'm going to sleep because my body needs to sleep, and I'm going to wake up. And that 5 hours that I think that's how much time I need, I just trust that I have enough time. So it's almost like trusting that you have enough time and you're being enough and you have enough. And it always just works out. So I'm always like balancing my energy with the things I have to do. Like, because energy is real, we have energy. So you can ask for more energy and more time in that respect. Does that make sense?
Kind of like I'm still like making the mental leaps, but I had it explained to me once that there's a difference between Newtonian time and Einstein time. And
yes, yes.
And if somebody's listening, like, what the heck does that mean? There's a book that I would really recommend called The Big Leap, it does have a section about this. Yeah, which is really good. And I feel like I try to embody these things, but then I forget them. It's like the truth of the world and how things are really operating, but then you get caught up in, we'll just use air quotes here, the rat race, or like the common thinking of like time is finite. I don't have enough time. I'm short on time. Time. But when it's really like time is flowing from you, and I forget these lessons. That I think that's part of the trick.
I don't believe in time, as it were, in the man-made sense of it. I believe I have all the time in the world. So I don't say, I've got to get this done, I don't have time. I know that, say, for example, I'm learning lines and I have a amount of time, like a day to learn them. I know that I can ask my mind, my body, okay, you need to absorb this quicker than normal right now because I have to be here tomorrow. It's just playing with these concepts as they are. But it's just getting a balance that's healthy. And when I hear something like, oh, time is finite or time is infinite and I can control it, I write a post-it, like on my workstation, in my phone, just places where I can see it until I get it in my head. So even if I'm running late for an appointment, I'll just say, time, make me early, and then I'll just get there on time. I feel like in my own time, you're in your own time zone. But for me, hard work makes me physically ill. Like I can't, it's like my body's like, I need to be in the flow of energy rather than, and you actually can get more back when you chill. There's a great book by Denise Duffield Thomas called Chillpreneur.
I've seen it. I've not picked it up, but yeah, I've seen it.
And talks about all this, and it's so true. Like there'll be times where I'll just say to myself, I'm going to take a nap. Even though I've got a bunch of work to do, I'm going to take a nap. And I trust that things are going on behind the scenes. And then I'll wake up and it'll be like, PayPal account has got money in, and this person wants to work with you, and here's the booking. Is just amazing. But it's like trusting, going, I'm in my own time zone and I control time.
Gotcha.
I can see your brain going. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, it takes. I find I'm a really slow learner, and it takes me like it might take me 6 months to grasp some of these concepts, which
I'm
you know,
literally going to write an article on this now.
is
Break it down. Yeah.
is kind of like a limiting belief that it takes time. But I do know the difference between when I own knowledge, then I can preach it to somebody, and I can just say this is how it is. But when I don't, then I'm really reluctant to talk too much about it and just be like, well, I read this thing, I haven't really tried it. But and I started calling it like poking the box like of reality and just being like, hey, there's it's actually not a box here. Like I can push through this thing, and you're just trying to create your own way. And I am a bit reluctant to talk about some of this stuff because I know that there's can be judgment that comes with it. It's like, whoa, you're clearly a crazy person talking about this. But when you start poking the box and doing these little experiments, all of a sudden some things make a lot more sense and other things make a lot less sense. And you're just like, huh, I don't have it all figured out. Okay, well, what do I want? And try and move towards that.
Yeah. I literally don't care about judgment because that limits me as well. When I think,
Right.
what do they think about me? That limits what I do or what I put out or how I show up. And I'm also mindful to not judge others and just think, that's an interesting point of view. That's interesting that you think like that or you say that. Because these concepts to some people who are insular or haven't grown up or don't know about them, not grown up like this immature, but grown up sort of knowing that there's this kind of other universe, it can be difficult to be like, well, I wake up, have my breakfast, go to work and come home and what do you mean woo-woo stuff? But I literally believe like I'm magical, and so magical things always come to me. So like every morning I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, what miracles are going to happen today? Every day something miraculous happens. It's like I'm like, come on, like the universe, my best friend. And so literally what you say and believe you can do, you can, which is why I was able to change my career around, because I'm deciding that I'm going to choose to work full time doing things that I love and make money from it, and also have the choice to travel abroad to work and do all these amazing things. And I'm open to it coming to me however it wants to show up. I'm not resisting. I'm not projecting how it should look or expecting. I'm just putting it out there and I trust. And then it just comes like.
And so I'm curious about the people that you work with and wondering if, because of your attitude and the way that attitude's the wrong word, but your outlook, right?
Yeah.
Or the way that you show up, are you just attracting the right people? Or are you finding that, okay, I'm attracting bunches of different people that are resonating with what I'm saying, but actually some people are not the right ones and others are? Because I feel like you could get to a place where your attraction is so strong that you actually are like repelling people, that there's certain things that you say because your message is resonating at like such a way that the right people are coming in and the wrong people are being held back. But I feel like that's sort of like a difficult place to get to. And with a lot of the coaches, and the same thing I think with any kind of creative business, like when you have clients, that you could look at it this way, like if you're doing design for somebody, you get these clients and they're just a total headache, pain in the butt, and you're like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
What's your experience with the people that you attract, that you work with?
That's funny because in my when I was selling physical products, I had that. Like I would attract clients that were more headache than they were worth. And I was just like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
But with this work with artists, so I write articles every day on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, and people resonate with them. I try to explain it in a way that's understandable. So I think when they read it, it makes sense to them. They're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I see people like, what's she talking about? That looks interesting, but and I have had people say, I do want to do your course, but I'm a little scared. And I'm like, what are you scared of? And they're like, well, you seem so powerful. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change your life. Or they're like, just what might come up. So far, the artists and creatives that I work with are professional. They've been at it a long time. They're working steadily, but they just want to go bigger. I only have one young lady in my course who's just starting out, but it's mainly professionals. So it would be, I literally designed the course for someone like myself because, as we were saying before, because art is different from business in that sense. I was looking for something that would help me as an artist. And I was thinking, when I had my physical product business and I joined some masterminds that were for business women, I thought, this is all great, but how would that apply to me as an artist? Because I'm freelance, the work comes differently. I don't have a boss as such to report to. I don't go, I'm going to sell 10 of these, it was just different. So I sort of designed it for me to keep pushing me onward and upward. So I find I'm attracting similar artists. They're working, they're professional, they've been at it for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're like, okay, enough now. I want to go big.
And
yeah.
When you're working with them, do you have the same kind of are you tapping into like this other consciousness that I actually already have said that you can, even before they're finished asking the question, you're like receiving insights.
It's funny because in this I have a program and it's called the Career Reboot, and it's 12 weeks, and so they get 3 assignments every week, and then every Sunday we come together on a call so they can discuss the assignments or what came up for them. So we go through everything, and then I'll do something with them to prepare them for the following week. And I might do an exercise or a meditation or something to help them unlock something within them that's holding them back. And every time at the end of the call, there's silence. And I'm like, is everyone okay? And they're like, yeah, that was, just need some time out. And I at first I was like, oh my God, but they're like, love it. It's just so, because often it's not about them as an artist. It's just about them as a human. And maybe something happened when they were a child that is just informing how they show up as an artist. So for example, when I was little, I remember I came home from school and I was like, Dad, I got A minus for my grade. And he was joking, but he went, A minus, why didn't you get A plus? And at the time as a child, I didn't say anything. I was a bit like, oh, my dad wanted me to get A plus. My dad's my hero. Oh my gosh, I should have got A plus. But since that, it turned me into a perfectionist, like, I have to get A plus, which was quite hard on my energetic system because people would be like, that's brilliant. And I'd be like, okay, but I see that it could be. So it's like letting go of that stuff and just trusting. And yeah, so there's always a lot of stuff that comes up for them from different areas of their lives or experiences that they've had. And when we fix those things, it impacts their career. So the course is, it's quite profound. So the people that are attracted, sometimes it might not be that they are on that wavelength, but something's resonated where they go, okay, I need to make a change. The networking, the courses, the applying for awards isn't working, so I'll try this because she says things that are making sense. And then they come into that whole mindset world, and yeah, interesting.
And do you have any stories where it's like you did your work for 1 week and then you had your Sunday session and then the person was like a completely different person? Because I keep hearing this as the change that needs to happen, and what we think it will be is like this gradual slow change, but and it could be, but it's more likely that something just snaps, like something is unlocked. It's like there's water in a bathtub and then somebody pulls the drain and then all that water goes and now it's an empty bathtub, and it's happening like that quickly that, you know, in the course of a week and a session, that when they come back next week, you're just like, who are you?
Yeah, I always ask them, check in, like, what's going on? And also I tell them, don't compare yourself to any of the other artists on the course. Number one, that you're all doing different types of art, and also everyone's coming, like some people may not have as much limitation as someone else. So 2 weeks ago, one of the artists on the call, she's a visual artist, and she had a big money block. She was like, we had done assignments on money, and so I was doing some work with her, and she had, because she makes political pieces, like almost vendettas against the government and institutions. That was her thing. And also the way that she'd grown up around money. So as she was speaking, I just cut her off and I went, this is what's going on. There's your blocks. Let's pull them out. Let's change them. And it was so difficult because for her, it meant if I change that belief, what art am I creating? So then we also have to find a way to make her know it's safe to change that belief. You can still impact people with your art, but you don't have to have this hatred towards money and the institutions. And then 4 days later, she got £68,000.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And then sometimes, like, I'll have artists, like I had, like the younger girl that's in the course at the moment. So we did some work on her and she said, okay, well, I told you that I want to shift from doing my job, my non-acting job, into getting acting work. And now my agent just contacted me about 2 auditions and I'm freaking out because it happened so quickly. So even though she wants that, there's energetic parts of her that are like, whoa, that's too safe. That's like, if you get these jobs, what's that going to mean about you? That's going to invalidate all the places where you've said, I'm not good enough, this is not going to happen, and all the people that said it to me. So I also have to be gentle with them and be mindful that it like when they are transitioning, that their systems, their bodies, their minds can handle those changes as well.
Interesting. Okay, so that just brought to mind one last question that I want to ask, and then we can wrap up. But so one of the things that I've experienced now is that when the path is so clear ahead, like somebody's in a group class, all the students, imagine when the student comes in, it's like they're on this path and there's fog and they don't have a torch or anything and it's dark, so they can sort of see the path in the moonlight, but there's fog, so it's nothing is clear. But then through the course, it's like the fog goes away, so the path forward is clear, and now they have a torch, and now they have peers, so they're not just walking on the path alone. Everyone's walking together, and they all have torches, and it's not just them walking in a line. They can see the people ahead of them who have gone down the path before, who also have torches, and so now they're in a totally safe place, right? They're able to move forward, but they're frozen. What is going on with this? Why? Like, how do we unfreeze people when it's like the path forward is so clear and so straightforward. And I mean, I have my theories, but I'm starting to see this, and I feel like I felt it myself, or maybe I'm sure in some areas of my life, I am the frozen person. So I'm asking this question for myself, but also on behalf of everyone who's like, well, I know what to do, and just not doing it. What is going on?
It's fear, because your ego is saying it's not safe. Even though you want it, your conscious mind is like, that's what I want. That's where I'm heading. There's some part of you that is like, that is not safe. So I'll give you an example. I like working in film, and in November last year, I was like, I'm going to work abroad and do amazing films abroad. So then the next day, my agent sent me to New York for some meetings. So I was like, okay, that was quick. And it was like quite so quick. I was sort of like spun out by it. And then when I was on the plane on the way back, he's like, oh, you booked this film in Thailand for Netflix. Chris Hemsworth's the lead. Go. And, you know, they fly you first class, stay in a 5-star hotel, all the things like, I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. But I had a panic attack on the plane because some part of me was like, whoa, like, does this mean I'm going to be working so hard that I won't be able to cope and I'll get sick again, like what happened last time? Or like, it starts bringing up things, and some of them aren't even related to acting. And so it's like, you're just not, part of you is just not feeling safe. Like, if you go there, what does that mean? You're going to be visible. People are going to come to you, and you know you like time alone and you like your own space. So now if people start coming to you left, right, and center, are you going to be able to cope with that? So why don't we just stay here where it's safe, where we know how things are, and keep dreaming about that? So it's like, we're that powerful that we can keep ourselves in the same place if we want to. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to tell yourself, it's safe. And just like in Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, even by saying mantras like, as I expand in health and wealth and excellence, I inspire others to do the same. And I have to say that to myself, because I had this thing, one last story. When I was at school, I was amazing at French. Like, do not test me at French. Don't test me now, because but the teacher would ask questions, I'd always have my hand up. And one time she said to me, Rayna, give other students a chance. Don't be so greedy. Since then, what I used to do is when I would book an acting job, I'd get sick straight away. So I'd book a job, get sick. And I realized I was doing it because every time someone would be like, wow, you're doing so well, I'd be like, yeah, but I got sick. So almost I'm trying to balance it out because of this memory that I knew it had happened, but I didn't link it to getting sick. So literally every time I would book a job, I'd have to say, it's safe for me to have this acting job. When I get this acting job, I inspire other people to know that they can do it if I can do it. So it's like being gentle, stroking the ego and saying it's safe, like, and then it goes, okay, then it's a little bit safe. I'll go further.
So it's just like these baby steps then. And then over time, you look back, or maybe, I don't know, I found lately that looking back is kind of its own dangerous thing, that sometimes you don't want to look back to see how far you've come, because then you fall off and you have to keep walking. It's like when you're moving ahead, you're on a tightrope because it's new and it's dangerous. But then as the longer you keep on that, it becomes like wider and wider and wider. And then you can look back because you can't fall backwards now. But you're on like you're always on a new tightrope as long as you keep growing.
Yeah, also, it's like if you're a mountain climber and you're like, Everest, I'm so good at climbing, I'm going to get to the top. If you just go straight to the top, you're going to die before you even get to the top, because you have to acclimatize. It's not that you can't do it, but you have to acclimatize as you go higher and higher. So rest at certain levels, get everything back into balance. When it's balanced, you stop feeling sick, nauseous, and dizzy. You can progress to another level. And it's just the same when you are progressing in life. Sometimes people go so fast. Because I remember one of my artists asked me, yeah, but what about people who come out of drama school and they get to the top, or people who are overnight? And I said, sometimes they fall off the rails. They get, you know, hooked up in sex scandals or drugs or whatever, because it's like, you've got to be so gentle with your system. It'll just shut down if you push it too much too fast. So it's like gentle steps. So I used to have apprentices, like, you know, do this work for 7 years, then you can go out into the world. But everyone now, because of the internet, or I read this person's a overnight sensation, they think it's just quick, and there's just so much to get your head around. Like, you know, if you start earning this money, do you know how to manage it? Do you know that you have to pay VAT when you earn over a certain amount? Do you know that you have to do this? Do you know that you have... There's so much to think about. You would just overwhelm your system. So that's why sometimes you see the clear road and your ego's like, whoa, just slow down a bit, please. So, yeah.
Well, this has been really fun, and I know that there will be somebody listening who wants more. So where can they get more Rayna?
Okay, so I have a website. It's www.flowcoachingforartists.com, and I put all my courses and retreats that I do on there. And if you sign up to the list, every Monday I write an article just to give inspiration and all these concepts that we've been talking about, just to help people like look at them. But I'm going to write that one on time. That's going to be my next article, to break it down and make that more understandable. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out and sharing your experience and your story. So thank you so much, Rayna.
Pleasure.
That's it for the episode of the Pencil King Show. Thanks for hanging out. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can always grab us on iTunes if you want to listen in the car, at the gym, whatever you want. If you are listening and you want to watch and see what's happening, you can always go over to YouTube and look up Pencil Kings and you'll find us there. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the show, and until then, stay creative.
Demands patience, skill, years of practice.
Ah, you talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.